Hello, welcome to the Chrissy Mayer podcast. Today we have an old friend of mine, the creator of I guess, yeah, is that fair to say? The creator of Gas Digital Network?
Yeah, I'm a co-creator,
Co-creator.
co-owner. Yeah, me and Ralph Sutton both conceptualized it, but everyone
Yeah.
knows I'm the idea guy.
Mr. Louis J. Gomez, thank you so much for waking up early during this quarantine. It's
I wake
11
up
a.m.
early every day. I'm up by 6 a.m. I was streaming this morning at 6:30 in the morning.
I signed up. I signed up for Twitch and I followed you because you're the only person I know on Twitch. And now I get updates every time you go on. And I saw one this morning and I was like, who's playing video games at 6 a.m?
Yeah, I'm an old man now. Once you have a kid, you start getting up fucking super early, going to bed super early. Sorry, I'm taking a dab hit right now. I apologize. But yeah, this is not early for me. This is midday for me.
Wow. Yeah, because I assume like James is when he's over, he's waking you up at like kids get up so fucking early. They get up at like 6, 7 a.m.
Yeah, he's a good kid though. You just give him give him the bong, give him a little bit of bourbon.
Oh yeah,
Put on a little porn for him. Maybe get on
no,
TikTok, make some videos. No,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's people really do think I'm a fucking psycho because I post shit on Instagram all the time with me being a good dad, and they're like, "Whoa, dude, I never expect you to be a good dad." It's like, what did they think I was doing to my kid?
I think people like to believe there's your stage persona and your like comedy version of you that people like, and people think if they know that then that's the whole of you. And
well, it's like, look, the stage persona, it's weird because they're like extensions of ourselves, right? The stage persona is an exaggerated version of who we are. The podcast exaggerated. You take certain elements of yourself and you sort of exaggerate them for whatever. With my kid's just getting me trying to be a good dad, so there's never a time where I'm never trying to make a fucking off-color joke or a racial comment or anything like that with my kid. That's just not, it's not how so I'm pretty fucking boring with my kid. I shouldn't say that. I'm kind of a fun dad, but yeah, I'm way more of a pussy when it comes to like him watching dirty things or hearing like foul language or anything like that. Like I showed him the Jim Gaffigan special, and even the Jim Gaffigan special was too far.
because he's what, 8, 7 or 8?
He's 7, yeah.
So have you been watching comedy with him for a while now?
I just started trying to watch comedy with him now because he's a little bit into it, and he knows his dad's a stand-up comic, and he knows that I do adult comedy. But I try to show him Jim Gaffigan, and Gaffigan, he's so squeaky clean, but you don't even realize he says things like porno or prostitute. Or it's like these aren't even dirty jokes. He's like, well, I had to go out and buy a prostitute. And you're just going like, that's just not really, like, I grew up on Eddie Murphy. I grew up on Def Jam. I grew up on a really like just dark comedy. And I don't ever really remember not understanding the context of a lot of the sexual stuff. Like I always just sort of got it, like with my kid has no idea what a fucking prostitute is.
Does he ask you?
No, he didn't, but he asked what sex was because Jim Gaffigan said sex, and I was like, fuck. And then
Did you say sex was?
He said, he was like, I had to pay for sex. For sex. And then I was like, oh, fuck. And I know it. So then I thought quick, and I was like, oh, sax, James. He said sax. It's a short for a saxophone. Then I showed him how expensive a saxophone was, and I really ingrained it in his head that I was paying for a sax, and I think I saved the fucking day.
So you pivoted, and now you just think he's going to grow up thinking all adult men really love jazz. And
yeah, they really enjoy just smooth jazz, nice clarinet in the night.
People love just doing horrible things to their saxophone. Yeah. I know, because I played it. When I was like in middle school, high school. But you have to play
saxophone.
Oh yeah, you have to play the clarinet first to learn. It's like a woodwind, I guess. So to learn, the basic keys, and which is the nerdier, more losery instrument. It's like you're only playing like the clarinet to get to the saxophone. But once I started playing the saxophone, it was just too heavy. Like I'd be sitting on it waiting for the bus, and then I eventually just like gave it up. But I was pretty good. I liked it, but it just was like
they did put like a weird barrier of entry with like musical instruments in with us. Like I had to play you had to do a stringed instrument before you can go. 4th grade, you can do a stringed instrument, and then you can continue with the stringed instrument, or you can move on to like a badass fucking cool
trumpet.
Instrument.
Oh yeah,
a trumpet, drums, a fucking trombone. What was the really big one? A tuba.
Yeah, tuba. There was like
Tuba was like, who the fuck played the tuba? It was only the fattest, nerdiest kids. They really
only
loved the tuba. I don't understand why.
only the fattest kid can handle a tuba. You're not gonna have like, and the instruments were so divided up based by personality, and it was like the fucking, now looking back, like the guy who played the French horn, he's the most uptight, like French press using,
Dickhead, yeah.
like cuck of everybody.
Yeah,
And
the
then
percussionists were all like welfare kids. They were all dirty.
mhm.
And the flautists were all like little fucking smarmy white bitches.
Yes, all the blonde girls played flute, and
Yes.
if
They
you
were all
were
skinny
even
as fuck.
if you were even more popular, if you were like Miss Thing super hot, then you got to play the piccolo, which was like it was like this tiny little elf flute thing, and
Yeah.
I was like, why didn't I think of that? They're not like lugging home of like a friggin' 30-pound
Yeah.
thing.
The only people who stayed with the stringed instruments were the uggos.
Which was my brother played.
He was an uggo. Yeah. Because these ugly nerdy kids. Here's what happened. Okay. Because I was actually great. I was great at the viola. I played the viola.
Yeah.
I was so great. Me and Sudhir Shanpani, who was an Indian kid who was also great. He was great at the
Wow,
violin.
you remember his full name?
I remember his full name. He was a friend of mine in elementary school, up till middle school, maybe even high school. Yeah, we were in plays together in high school.
Mhm.
So Sudhir Shanpani, he got to be pushed on to the next book number 2 before the school year was over in the 4th grade, and so did I. We were the only 2 kids in the class, and we were doing like little fucking duets.
Wow.
I was very good at the viola, but I was a little poor brown welfare kid, and I was like, I gotta hit those drums, baby boy. So I left that shit behind. But the kids that stayed with those stringed instruments were always fucking losers, because what happened was it was the first time in their life they'd ever felt any sort of, they were winning at something. They felt progress. They felt like they're together. They have these other people, and they don't want to lose that. Like like all the other kids, other kids were fucking playing football and building tree houses and being awesome. The kids who stuck with those stringed instruments, there were all these fucking nerdy, staring at their feet, autistic
That
kids.
is so funny and so true. And I wonder, like, because my brother played the viola, but he played it all through high school. And like, did he play through, not through college, but all through high school? And I ended up giving up the sax because I was just sports ultimately won out. But yeah, like he ultimately went on to become an engineer, super nerd, like alone to himself mostly growing up. And I wonder if it's because like they find success in that first instrument, and then like to drop it to either start another instrument.
Yeah,
or
they don't have the, like, for me, I was like, come on, I'll succeed at everything, baby. Set up another thing. Give me another task, motherfucker.
So
Let's
it's like,
go.
you think those people, like, they don't want to take that other risk. It's like, well, I risked it. I started a new instrument. I don't want to risk it.
They finally had a little bit, they get to feel cool for once in their entire lives, and they open up that dumb little fucking viola, and it sucks, but I get it. I completely get why they do that. For me, I was just, I had dealt with fucking, real trauma at that point. I needed more tasks. I needed to keep myself going. It wasn't a slow pace. I needed to constantly be smashing through goals. This is why I never did anything for more than a couple months. Like I played every sport. I did every extracurricular activity. I thought it was fun to just keep on doing different shit.
Yeah. So the viola was your gateway instrument or your gateway activity. You're just like, I need more, baby. Hit me up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lewis, I was thinking back, I was like, I think I met you in the summer of 2014. You were sitting at the creek with Dave Smith. And I was like looking back at your bio too, because I wanted to be a prepared interviewer. Was that the same year that you did Last Comic Standing? Because I'm trying to think of like where you were career-wise.
No.
Last
Comic Standing was probably, I had already had a kid last Comic Standing. So I mean, yeah, actually, maybe. Yeah, to be honest with you, maybe 2014, 2015.
And at that
possibly.
point, so Legion of Skanks began at Compound Media, yes?
No.
Or no? God
No.
damn, I'm sorry.
Come on, Chrissy. Get your
God
shit together.
damn
We
it.
began before that. That was like Compound Media. They were the first network that paid us anything. I remember that we were doing Skanks for a fairly small audience, but really dedicated. We had a hardcore audience that were really into it. And when we came over to Compound Media, and we were the first show that Anthony Cumia launched under Anthony Cumia Network, under that banner, he was paying us, it wasn't even an insane amount of money at all. It was, very little amount of money. But I went from making essentially no money in comedy to paying my rent off my podcast.
Wow.
And that was like, for me, that was just like, it was crazy because it was this fucking hobby that I was doing. and I was doing it for free. I would have continued to do it for free. I was doing Hammer Fisting, this MMA
Yeah.
podcast, and we started this thing sort of as like, you know, we saw what Bobby Kelly was doing with his show, and I was a successful guest on that show. So it went from, and that was sort of opened my eyes that this could be a business, right? That this wasn't just something we were doing for fun. Because as soon as you, in my mind, all right, if I can make $800 a month on a podcast, why can't I make $1,600 a month? This is not that crazy. It's out there, right? So it was a big deal for Anthony to bring us on board like that and to believe in us like that. And yeah, but we were already doing the show for probably a couple of years before that. And then once we left Anthony Cumia, I had already started Gas Digital while we were on Compound Media.
Wow.
But then Legion of Skanks came over to Gas Digital, and that sort of became the flagship show. And that really put Gas Digital on the map because we had grown so tremendously under, you know, Anthony and his guidance and what they did. We just couldn't, you know, work out the deal.
What was it like recording those shows at Anthony Cumia's house out in Long Island?
It was awesome. Anthony is the man. Anthony is his place is cool. He's got a pool. We would show up with fucking 20 Legion of Skanks fans because we were doing it at the Creek in the Cave. And I think that's probably where I met you, Chrissy.
The Creek first. You did it at the Creek first. Yeah.
We were doing it at the Creek, yep. And then we were doing 2 shows a week. So we would do 1 a week at Anthony's, 1 a week at the Creek. Wow. So we would all meet at the Creek, get in a van, drive out to Anthony's once a week. But it was like we were just doing drugs and drinking, and we do the show, and then afterwards everyone would just jump in the pool. And
wow.
People were fucking and just getting crazy. It was like it was kind of a wild time for Legion of Skanks because it was very punk rock. It wasn't a business. It wasn't like, you know, Big J wasn't on the radio with a massive, you know, radio show. Dave Smith didn't have the sort of political pundit career that he's gone down, where we were all dads, but we were still pretty fucking immature as well. Like, now that my kid's like conscious, I'm sort of a different guy now. You know, it's like, because
more than a paperweight. Yeah.
Well, back then it's like, you know, until he's 4 or 5 years old, he's not really aware, but it's like now he's like really aware. And now I become hyper aware of who I am. And that's a part of growth. And, you know, I'm going to have to fucking answer for all my stupid actions one day to him. He's going to come like, Dad, why did you say and do all of these things?
Daddy, who's Seth Simons?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm hoping that I get to show him that he can do whatever he wants to do, live however he wants to live, you know, really, you know, live his dreams. And I'm hoping by the time he's old enough to sort of, and you know, is exposed to sort of this side of it, because he knows Legion of Skanks is dirty. He knows it's adult comedy. He knows what Legion of Skanks and Skankfest is. But he doesn't really understand the sort of the political or social implications that are being ingrained to his head right now, right? So he's this little kid, and in school, there's like, you know, they do social justice like week where they're teaching them about social justice, and you know, and that's a very part of this is the society we're growing up in.
Second grade, right now.
First grade. He's in the first grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're already in social. What does social justice look like in first grade?
I mean, it's just simply like they look at like a marginalized group and, you know, what efforts that have been done to help them. And it's being ingrained in the curriculum, you know, and there's no escaping. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Real social justice is a good thing. The problem is fake social justice is really bad. So when you come after comedians for making jokes, which we're legitimately trying to create positivity out of fucking tragedy, you know, there's nothing more fucking pure in the world than a comic telling a joke about tragedy and honoring it by getting a room of people to laugh at the same time and forget about the bullshit, right? It's fucking pure and it's beautiful and it's one of the best things in the fucking world. And anybody who doesn't understand it, fine, you don't understand it, but you can't tell me that you try to tear somebody down holds more value from a social justice standpoint than a comedian who's making a joke and trying to make a room full of people laugh. Because a lot of people, they get through tragedy because of comedy, because of laughing. This is me and my sister. We had a fucked up childhood. We laugh about it to this day. We laughed about it then. We made jokes about it. That like it was a big part of it. It's a very entitled attitude to go like, oh, you can't make jokes about this thing. Like that's extraordinarily entitled. And people that have dealt with real tragedy, people that, I mean, minorities are the brown people, Puerto Ricans, black people, Dominicans,
redheads,
the redheads, the best audiences in the world. Because we've dealt with real tragedy. We've dealt with real fucking, you know, we've had our backs against the wall. I grew up amongst poverty. This is why you see, dude, those are the best audiences. You can go into a fucking room with a bunch of black people and say anything you want and they're going to laugh their asses off. As long as you're funny. As
Yeah.
long as you're funny. They're not going
You're
to write a
not, they'll
letter.
let
If
you
you
know
they
right
might
away.
fucking boo you. They might fucking
Yeah.
say, fuck you, get off. They're not going to write a letter. They're not going to fucking go and try to get you canceled. They're not going to go to Yelp. They're not doing any of that
They're
shit.
not going to tweet. Yeah.
I
They're
mean,
not
granted,
going to
their cell phone's off.
figure out
But
what Reddit is.
if
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a different type of thing. So,
Did you say there's because their cell phone is turned
yes,
off?
I did. I was racist. So,
Oh, God, because Metro PCS. That's why.
it's true. It is true.
Boost.
So yeah, I think that yeah, Skanks, it was especially at that time, like it was really just doing it to do it. And then Compound Media, you know, when Anthony came into the mix, it also inspired us to start Gas Digital. You know, I had thought about it before. Me and Ralph had been, you know, meeting and talking about these types of things for a couple of years. And,
And
you
how
know,
did you meet
I met Ralph through Big J. I did that Shiprocked cruise, and
Oh,
Ralph was like
right.
the
And he would
host of
host
it. And
that.
Big
Yeah.
J, Big J was. So that's when me and Ralph met. Me and Ralph started just sharing ideas, like on the phone. He had SDR show. I had Realize podcast. I was up at Stand Up New York Labs. He was, I think, on All Things Comedy at the time. And both shows were really small. And we would just start sharing ideas, like, oh, dude, you got a sponsor? How'd you get that sponsor? It was like, nobody's sponsoring shows with 2,500 listeners, right? And then he would be like, oh, this is what I did. And this, you know, we'd go step by step. And then I would talk to him about, you know, this fucking, he'd be like, oh, can you help me get some guests? And I'd help him get some guests for the show. And then we'd start sharing ideas about different technology we were using and software we were using, hardware we were using. And then we just sort of being, just friends in the business that really got it. And we started to look at the things that other networks were not doing correctly. And I had been on Stand Up New York Labs, Compound Media. He was, I was on Riotcast. He was on All Things Comedy. We were on every network. I knew the ins and outs of the podcasting network business pretty well. And every single one of them sort of lacked components, right? They did some things really well, and they did some things they didn't do super well. So what we did was we sort of said, let's create a platform that is executing on a higher level. We, and like I said, I don't want to trash other networks. So they're all great in their own right. But I think that what we saw was an opportunity. We were being told that we couldn't sell advertising on our shows until we had 50,000 downloads. Well, now that I run my own network, I know that's not true. No, you need a network that's motivated to package up their smaller shows and to, and to go out there and start knocking on doors and picking up the phone. That's the reality. And out of that, we've developed an entire ad sales wing to Gas Digital. It's a separate business altogether, same thing on the podcast merch side. We were working with all these different drop shipping companies and they were all fucking terrible. It was really bad quality, really bad service. And we said, well, we can just do this. So we developed podcastmerch.com. So it's like, there's massive opportunities within the business that we just sort of try to capitalize on. And there's always room for improvement. Obviously we have to improve. But yeah, those original sort of years of just sort of doing it, me and Ralph, when we started this network, we didn't think it was going to be a full-time business. I never thought this was what I was going to be doing full-time. It's crazy.
I think, and it took, and for me too, like the first, when my podcast, like when Wetspot went on Compound Media, I was like, wow, this is the first time I have been paid to do a podcast, paid to do any kind of regular comedy work. And it was it's not enough to live off of, but it's like, it's pretty amazing. It's that first like jolt of like, oh, wow, this is possible. Like I can begin to see how I could support myself off of this. What I like so much about Gas Digital and Compound Media is that like, it seems that there's an overlap between the fans and that the fans kind of appreciate, like so many of the Compound fans are like in the tweets, it feels like the same bunch of us comics are often being mentioned together. I've heard fans say, oh, like you got to combine Gas and Compound Media. Is that something you guys have ever thought about?
It's not, I mean, obviously that's been said before. No, it's not something that we'd have ever seriously considered. They sort of have their own, like we understand how it works with the technology and the platform and the subscribers and the idea of, somehow merging and porting over subscriber bases. And it just seems like a massive undertaking that I couldn't imagine. I think both businesses are doing pretty well. I couldn't imagine that it would make sense for either one of us to do that. But hey, you never say never. I honestly, I could see us continuing to work with Compound Media for a while. We still share ideas. We still get on, me and Keith share ideas regularly. We get on emails. We have, when we were developing our app, we gave up on our app. We said, fuck it. We're putting all of our money into our talent, into producing new shows, into developing the website, having a, more reactive website. Not forever. We're going to eventually go out and develop an app again. But, I think that right now we're sort of at this growing phase where, I think we're going to really, in the past 3 months, even this quarantine thing, it sucks, right? The whole coronavirus thing sucks, but it sort of made us adapt, right? It made us do things that we were supposed to be doing over the past, 2-3 years, right? That we just were sort of dragging our feet on. But because we're in this sort of state of emergency, and we were, we really buckled down and did a lot of incredible things. And I said this at the beginning of the quarantine, I was like, we need to be stronger and in a better position at the end of it than we were going into it. And we definitely are. So overall, on that side of things, it wasn't that the quarantine was good for the business. The quarantine and the adversity was good for our attitude and what we were doing with our business. Because we could have easily just fucking been like, fuck, let's look for government grants. Let's lay people off. We had that conversation. We had a very real conversation. Well, should we lay people off?
Right, because isn't gas considered like a 10 or less small business? Employee-wise, or I guess there's probably several different ones. I remember hearing about one. Oh, like if you're a business on in Manhattan or maybe on the Upper West Side, if you have 10 or less. But I wonder if that's true for.
We have way more employees than that. We have, when you consider all of the producers, we have a dozen producers alone. Then we have 30 hosts, and the amount of people coming into the studio. We couldn't keep the studio open, obviously, during this. We could have applied to, for specific exemptions. There were ways to do it because we are media, but it wasn't really worth it. People weren't going to come into the studio and have a good time. The producers weren't going to come in and, we need people to be in a good mood.
Yeah.
And you need to be performing, right? So we made the decision to sort of move everything over to Zoom. Things are going to open up soon enough. But when this all happened, we had a conversation. It was like, fuck, dude, we need to really consider how we're going to move forward. Everyone's sort of putting things on hold. And we could have laid a few people off, cut people's hours, cut people's everything. And, I was very against laying anybody. Like, I'm even a single person. I was like, I don't want to fucking cut $1. I was like, we should be the only company out there that's paying people more. We should be the only company that's out there that's growing. And as soon as this happened, I said, cool, let's sign a new show. Cool, let's start making this cartoon. Great, let's start doing Saturday night streams with stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
Let's be reactive. Let's give them more. Let's give them more. We raised our prices during this quarantine. We just raised our price last Friday. People are like, how are you raising your price during quarantine? I was like, because we're giving more.
Because you guys were free for a month, right? You were like,
we gave away a free month, but the reason we raised the bottom line, and it wasn't for all the subscribers that were already subscribed. We only did it for subscribers moving forward, right? So it's new people that are finding out about the network.
Oh, like Netflix.
We grandfathered everybody else into the old subscriber rate. Does Netflix do that?
I remember at one point it was like, if you were an old subscriber, you would continue to pay like whatever it was, like $9.99
$7 or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
$7 or $8, and then like the new people would pay
now
a little more.
It's like $18. It's crazy.
But that's really amazing. Like that's really amazing, Louis, because I feel like a lot of people, especially on the individual comic level, could so easily use this quarantine as an excuse to like take their foot off the gas and coast and like kind of like, devolve into, I don't know, back into an open micer if they want. Like you definitely have the excuse of like, well, it's a pandemic, I can't. And it's great that you were able to see like, oh, what can we really work on? And I think also this quarantine has forced like me to be like, oh, I need to get my online stuff on point. Like I've just bought this, it took 2 months for me to buy a real microphone.
Right. You sound good.
Woo! I realized I had been screaming in my Zooms, like just shouting. And I just didn't, because I didn't think anyone could hear me. So I would shout. But then you realize with Zoom, when it's multiple people, if it's more than 2 people talking, they just silence everybody else. And I didn't know that. So it was just a lot of me shouting. But I mean,
that's the thing. You have to sort of react, right? And I think there's a lot of people. I have friends that are not in the business and they're on unemployment, and they're like, oh, it's kind of great, dude. I make more money right now than I was making before. I've heard this from like 5 different people. They're making more money on unemployment than they're making before. And they go, cool, they just extended the benefits. Awesome. They're going to give another stimulus check and they're going to extend it. I can get my unemployment for a year. And they literally constantly in front of me, they go, awesome, don't have to work. And in my mind, I'm going like, it's so hard. Like, I would love to do that. I would love to simply go, cool, I don't have to work. I can just go get a check every month for doing nothing. My problem with that is what happens when that money runs out? What happens when they just say they're not doing that? It's very short-sighted to be excited about something like that.
No guarantee on any of it.
I would rather plant these seeds now. I would rather do the things we have to do now, okay, and really fucking work and not get anything. And it's just a different type of attitude and energy people have. And a lot of comics, I think, have the attitude of like, oh, cool, I'd rather just lie down. And I'm just not that way. I don't have that in me. I've never been handed things in my life. My mom stopped buying me Christmas presents and school clothes when I was like 10.
Really?
This is like, yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
This is
Lewis.
like, but it's a good thing, to be honest with you.
Buy
It's
you
a
a
good
little
thing.
backpack. And I see.
Buy me some shorts.
Yeah.
But no, the reality, it's a good thing, and it's taught me to be very self-sufficient. I don't depend on any. Like, dude, since I was 16 years old, that's it. There's nobody to go home to. There's no, like, if I stop making money, if I stop earning, there's no like couch I can go lie on for a month and like be like, oh, mom, can you just make me breakfast in the morning? And like, that's so far gone. I have one family member, my sister and my aunt, okay, my aunt Anne-Marie, who helped raise me. She's my great aunt. She's 82 years old. When I left Rockland County when I was 19, I moved out of my mom's when I was 16, but I left Rockland County when I was 19. I made a decision that I was never going to ask that woman for a dime, not even a dollar, because I watched my mother, my uncles, I watched every one of my family members take advantage of this woman and just constantly, hey, can you send me $50? Can you send me $100? They were always in and out of jail. It was all this. I grew up with a family of fucking degenerates. My foundation is fucking cracked in a major, major way. But when I left, I made a decision that I wasn't going to ask her for anything, not a dime ever. And if there's going to be any sort of transaction of anybody giving anything, it would be me giving my aunt, and it would be me giving my family. So yeah, I don't have those options. I don't have it. I want to make them proud. For me to come home with my tail between my legs, and I would rather go hungry than ask my aunt for a dime. Truly.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like, I didn't grow up with as much shit as you did. I'm from Long Island. We didn't have a pool. I struggled. Like, I was Long Island poor. Like, we didn't have a maid, but my dad was around, but he wasn't really like around. But the point is that my parents did make it known to me, like, that money was a thing, and that like money didn't grow on trees. And like, weirdly now it's like, then they retired to Florida, living huge. But like, growing up, it was like, my dad was a landscaper. They're always talking about money, always fighting about money. And I also grew up thinking like, I wasn't one of these teenagers like stealing money out of my mom's wallet. I was not asking for money. Like, so
I would only steal change from my mom.
Yeah, for the ice cream man.
I would never steal solid dollars, but I would scour her purse, and if whatever it was, that was my standard. Like, I could steal $10, but it wasn't stealing from my mom because it was change.
You were the original keep the change program.
Yeah, exactly.
Bank of America took that from you. How do you think so you said you had these, you had these cracks in your foundation. How do you think you overcame them? Like, was it just you woke up one day and you're like, I don't want to be reliant on anybody?
Yeah, that was just sort of, that was always sort of built into me. Like I said, I've had a job since I was 11 years old. I've always worked. I always sort of had an entrepreneurial thing. I was a kid that like had a fucking iced tea stand, or I would come knock on your door asking if I could, shovel your driveway. That was like me every season. Every time it snowed, I was knocking on every door in the neighborhood. I was up super early trying to make some cash. I had a book. I remember I had a book like How to Earn Money as a kid. And it's all these like crazy little things that you could do to like make cash.
Oh, wow.
So I was just hyper aware of how poor we were, hyper embarrassed of how poor we were.
Me too. Would you ever have a friend drop you off at the next house, like after school? Like, I would be like, oh yeah, that's my house. And I would just like lie about where I lived.
No, because it was like we lived in like an apartment, sort of like two family houses. It wasn't that bad, and it was a lot of poor kids. Like the other kids were poor as well for the most part. I didn't really hang out with any like affluent kids at all, probably until high school. that's when I fucking really leaned into my whiteness. But it was like my mom would have food stamps and I'd be at the supermarket and I would fucking walk away from her when she'd pay, when I was like a little kid, when I was like 8 or 9, because I was afraid kids from school were going to see her paying
Wow.
with food stamps. And I just remember just like thinking, like, even I've always been an old conservative white guy at heart, like deep down. I remember just being a kid, just being like 7, my son's age, and being like, my mom would be on welfare. She'd be lying in her bed, smoking cigarettes. She'd be getting food stamps. I just remember thinking, like, why are you not working? Like, what are you doing? Like, why do
Wow.
you deserve to just get a handout for doing absolutely nothing? So it wasn't like that influence on me was like it could have easily influenced me the opposite way. Like, I think a lot of parents influence their kids in a, my mom, whatever it was, I just watched her and I never really saw her. I saw her lack of inspiration, her lack of, you know, whatever it was. She didn't have that in her to go and be anything bigger. And she was a smart woman, pretty woman. But she had problems, drug addict, abused when she was a kid. And, sometimes you just can't fucking get out of it, dude. When
That's
you're in
what
the
it is.
fucking
Yeah.
Patterson, New Jersey, it's not like, you're in New York City, it's an inspiring place. When you're in fucking New Jersey, you're in fucking
Long
upstate New
Island.
York. Yeah, Long Island. There's like just when you're in fucking those environments, nobody's inspired to do anything. People are very complacent.
You
You
take
don't
on the
really see much
values
movement.
of everybody around you. It's like cops, teachers, everyone just wants to get their Malibu, cabana, and they're just like working for the summer. It's all about their kids. It's like the people that don't get out of Long Island, like they're all so the
But ours
same.
was different. The big thing that everybody was trying to get in sort of our so our like economic level was like a job with the city, or a job like a job with the parks, garbage man. Like one of these were like fucking, I remember just
Good
being a kid,
union
like,
job. Yeah.
yeah, good union job like that. It's like you can get a good union job, make a certain amount of money, grow up, eventually be 65, have a pension. Like that shit, like
Yeah.
that was like, that was the level of like success that people were looking for. Like if there was a garbage man in my family, nobody was even that good to become a garbage man. But if there was a garbage man in my family, that would have been like the success story.
Wow.
It's fucking bananas. Like it's like there's
Wow.
none of that. There was no, I don't know of any successful people that came before me in my family, like any real sort of success. So to look for inspiration, like, not to suck my own dick, but it literally, I had to manifest my own inspiration.
Yeah.
You know?
You were like a very observant little kid. You were self-aware from the get-go, which is like a thing, a quality that makes you a really great stand-up comic and a really great podcaster. And you just sort of learned, you're like, okay, I want to be sort of different than where I came from. Let's see here. So how did you come to, I mean, it's interesting because when you first got with Dave Smith, was he a libertarian, or just he wasn't as vocal about it?
No, Dave, when I met Dave was a straight up New York liberal Jew, like real deal. Now, when I say real deal, he didn't really give a fuck that much, but it was like the same way we were all liberal when we were 17, 18 years old. I met Dave when I was 19 or 20, maybe.
Yeah.
But everyone grew up somewhat liberal, right? Because it's just sort of like, it's when
It's a
you think,
default. It's like I came out of
well, you're just
college.
young. You're
Liberal, yeah.
young and fucking, you don't know. And by the way, I'm not conservative at all. I'm not liberal at all. I think that I'm a human being and I have ideology and philosophy that falls on both sides of the political spectrum. I don't pay attention to politics at all. I don't give a fuck. I'm not a supporter of any politician. I will never vote again in my entire life. I think it's a
Never.
fucking scam. Never. It's a fucking scam. It's a major scam. And I think to even be a part of it, to participate, you are, it's as, it's, I opt out because I feel like participating is just admitting that you're fucking blind and stupid. I
Because
really
hearing you
do.
talk, a lot of your values sound like, I remember the episode I was on with you and Mike Racine, and you went into this whole, like, not really a rant, but it was like, oh yeah, it's all about self-responsibility. You got to kind of like, yeah, if you're not making enough money, you got to figure out what to do to make more money, to like pull yourself up out of where you're at if that's not making you happy. And I remember,
Well, yeah,
like,
you're not going to, giving somebody anything is going to teach anybody anything. And you start to get into the raising the minimum wage debate, and you go, it's like, okay, well, cool, we'll devalue the dollar. If you raise the minimum wage, cheeseburgers cost more money. Simple as that, right? So
yeah,
it's not like it falls on us anyway. So why wouldn't you want to teach somebody the value of
having their own power.
earning more than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. It's just, it's so black and white to me. And it just sounds it just sort of sounds harsh, right? So every time I have a realistic view on the world, I think. It's not that I don't value human life or I don't think people deserve a living wage. I look at myself in the mirror and I go, I know what I had to do to get myself where I'm at. And I think that other people can use a little bit of that. But
You sound a little bit like, like you're socially liberal, but you sound a little bit like you might sway more towards libertarianism. And I know you have,
probably if you had to categorize me, of course, but I think when we all came out of college, it was all like, oh, fuck Bush. Or when we all came out of high school, it was like, fuck
yeah,
Bush. He's an idiot.
there's
He's
two
bad.
options. Yeah.
Oil, money for oil. This is as basic as my understanding of politics was. This is probably the way most people think, right? To this day. But it's the reason I opt out is because as soon as you go any deeper, you go like, oh shit, we don't know anything. We'll never know even a fraction of the real story. So why am I spending any time emotionally being connected to any of this stuff? It's sort of the soap opera that people get emotionally invested in. I would just rather spend my time working on things to make myself better. I'd rather fucking do anything but fucking get involved in that.
With politics,
But
it's like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And it's like
you don't know
another rabbit hole. And then it's like, oh, now is this my full-time job? So I can know all the things. So
and I have to
anytime
pretend to fucking care.
Yeah.
I'm like arguing with people. I'm like, what is this thing? Who fucking cares? This is the worst.
That's what trips me up sometimes.
After when I met Dave, we were both of that mindset. It's like, but anti-war, like, oh, we shouldn't be fucking killing people in the Middle East. I don't even know where in the Middle East we were at war at the time. Like, I literally have no idea. But it was just sort of like very easy, pro-choice, pro-gay rights, pro-women's rights. These are all, to be honest with you, I still believe in all of these things. Like, there's nothing that I've listed that has changed, right? From when I was a kid until now. I believe in all these things, it's not my identity in any sense of the word. And then when it comes down to the fiscal side and when it comes down to the business side, I end up swaying a little bit more towards the conservative side. And as soon as you have one ideology that's on that other side, well, people on the left will fucking call you a Nazi. You are a Nazi.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you, I'm pro women's rights, pro gay rights, pro choice. I'm anti-war. I'm against I'm a truly, like, you couldn't, like, if you list my values,
you're an old school liberal. You're like what liberalism should have been. Yeah.
I could be a fucking ally. I'm a guy where you go like, oh shit, this guy, he has the ear of a lot of people. He's not, he doesn't have a political agenda. It's like, oh, we should use that and try to be like, oh, cool. That, he doesn't agree with us on this thing. He thinks the coronavirus lockdown was, a little bit overreaction, but this doesn't make me a Nazi. It doesn't make me,
you don't care about people. You're selfish, Louis.
Right.
Yeah. People are so quick to call you a Nazi. That happens to me too, and it fucking riles me up.
It's a psychotic way to be, and it also makes me completely opt out of it online. Like, I don't give any like social or political views for the most part. I got into the Corona thing I got into the Corona thing before it was even political. I don't have time. I got to go back and just pull every fucking tweet, and then I want to match it up with things that smart people are saying now that I was saying 3 months ago, because everything I was fucking saying, everyone,
the real ass version of the truth and the news.
Goddamn right.
Yeah, because any free thinker, like, that's what I think it's better to call people free thinkers than conspiracy theorists, because anyone who has intellectual curiosity and is skeptical of the world around them, and you just putting two and two together, you're like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. All of a sudden you're a selfish prick who wants people to die from a virus, which is being exaggerated anyway. A lot of people have tried to cancel you, Louis, Seth Simons, Nicole Arbour, Jake Flores. I saw a petition on change.org. People were trying to get you banned from Legion of Skanks, which is your own podcast.
That wasn't somebody. That was just fucking anti-fans, which are fans. By the way,
yeah, they're just confused. Haters are just confused fans.
Those are fans, right?
Yeah.
So it's not. I'm not saying that somebody that hears me on, like, I go on, Rogue's podcast and somebody's like, fuck that guy, I hate him. All right, that guy hates me. That's okay. Yeah. I'm gonna people that listen to my podcast every week and they hate me to the point where, like, I fucking hate this guy so much, but they keep listening. It's like Cersei Lannister. It's like, you hate her, but you know she's fucking absolutely necessary. You know what the fucking show would be without her. So shut the fuck up, okay? So those people are the people who put like a petition to get me off Legion of Skanks. And to be honest with you, it probably wasn't even anti-fans. It was probably people who like me and thought it was really funny. Like I have people like Metzger is trying to be canceled right now for this Armenian joke that he made.
Oh,
And
really? God, I didn't see it.
yeah, it's so
Just
stupid.
like,
Our fans are posting and signing the petition, and I think they have more signatures from fans of Metzger than non-fans of Metzger. So it's just sort of our world. We live in a world of ball bustiness and sort of trolling each other. So yeah, I've had a few run-ins. You know, cancels. I don't know if any of these people were trying to cancel me. Nicole Arbour, I guess, yeah, maybe she was. I maybe that was her end result. I think she was trying to create content, and whether or not I got canceled, it didn't fucking matter to her.
Yeah, I know, because she was talking about the Q movement, which I have like dipped into, and Frank messaged her to try to get her on to do a podcast or, wet spot or whatever. And she responded with the tweets that I wrote, like during the time when I, was like kind of in your corner and like,
yeah, of course.
She's like this. She's like rich, entitled, blah, blah. She like sent the tweets back with like a middle finger. And I was just like,
whoa.
All right. Yeah. I was like,
oh,
salty.
you should probably learn from my mistakes anyway, to be honest with you.
I just wanted to talk to her about like the Q stuff, and I was just like, all right, well.
No, I'm assuming you weren't going to talk to her about me, but the reality is like I don't even harbor any ill will with her. I really don't. It was sort of an interesting thing. It was an interesting experiment to sort of look at what happened there. It wasn't anybody who spent a second looking into it.
Yeah,
they saw exactly what it was. This is why it wasn't, the attempt to quote unquote get me canceled didn't work. Nobody, and we were doing we were launching Skankfest at the time. People were contacting the venue that were like fans of hers, and it just takes anybody. And some people are very reactionary, right? So people will go like, "Oh shit, there's 3 tweets. Like I gotta." But most people now, and this is why it's good that we sort of have this, or it's not good, but at least it being overblown and the amount of people that try to be canceled. And how often this happens where some comedian says something dumb and then we've become desensitized to it. So much so that business owners, sponsors, they all go like, wait a minute, we get this already.
That's great. It's become like just noise, which is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So unless you do something real, like if you really do hurt somebody or you really say something crazy, you can run a real risk of not working and not being able to make revenue for a while. But with the jokes, I think we're watching what happened with Metzger. It's so minimal. Like it's so obviously a joke. So anybody, and the Armenian website that's putting out that he made an offhand joke. They were talking about something and somebody made a joke that they were an Armenian Holocaust denier, which is
how specific. Yeah.
It's so silly. And then he was like, "Oh, I think it happened, but it was justified." That was the joke that he made. It's a joke.
Okay.
Now it couldn't be any more sarcastic. It couldn't be any more like, "Hey, we're being silly right now. We're just saying whatever comes to mind, right?" So this fucking Armenian blogger put it up, and he's trying to get himself clout with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's maybe 5 people that have tweeted about it. And at first, I think people go like, "Oh shit!" Like, Ralph calls me. It's like, "Oh, we've gotten a few emails about this," and then Metzger's agent, and we have a conversation with them, and everyone's sort of like, very nervous, right? Because everyone's on edge, and you go like, guys, it's 5 people. What are you talking? They're not real. They're not even people that are showing up they're not buying memberships.
They're never people that would actually buy anything you ever do or show up.
They're not buying t-shirts. They're not showing up to a show. It's like, what are we even doing here? Let's put it into perspective. Okay. We have, without giving Metzger's numbers away, but, tens of thousands of people that listen to his podcast that are fans of his that would show up and go to war for him. What are we talking about? And just consider that there's 5 people that are tweeting once every 24 hours. It's not even a thing that's happening. It seems like it's more because you get one negative tweet, Chrissy. Think about this. One thing. Chrissy, you got fucking shitty red hair. You're not funny. Go fuck yourself. That one tweet will ruin your hour. You'll be eating lunch and you're like, fuck, this lunch just doesn't taste as good right now.
He's right.
Doesn't matter how many people like you, love you, download your stuff, tell you you're great, it doesn't matter. It'll just, until you become sort of desensitized to it. And I'm at a place now where I'm desensitized to it. I sort of laugh. I retweet when people say nasty things about me. I've heard everything you could possibly say. So I think I've developed a really thick skin. And I think, people, that's why I go onto Reddit. I read the dumb comments about me on Reddit.
Oh yeah, me too.
I got a fucking profile. I'll answer back sometimes. you have to fucking, at the very least, just desensitize yourself to it. You know, it's like those fucking Muay Thai guys who go in the forest and they kick trees over and over again. They break their bones down on their shins because they have to fucking build up tough bone, or you're gonna
Wow.
fucking break your legs when you go and fucking
You can
fight
make
somebody
your
who's been doing
bones
that.
harder?
Yeah, because the bones break down and they grow back stronger and stronger. So yeah, it's
Wow.
really fucking really crazy. But that's sort of what you have to do, I think, in this day and age, especially if you're a young comic who's getting any sort of success. You can, a few thousand Twitter followers, your podcast starts popping, you start getting on shows like Legion of Skanks or Robert Kelly's or Kumia's show. You're going to be exposed to these people, and they're going to say some shit to you. They're going to say you stink. They're going to say whatever.
They're going to test you.
And you don't want to be the guy. A piece of advice that I'll give to any young comic: just don't be the guy that's out there going like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. How many followers do you got, man? It's like, well, he's a troll. This is one of his 85 accounts. He's not trying to get followers. He's trying to get you to say that, you fucking moron. Like
trying to get you
just
to see it.
don't play that game. Be above it, or either opt out and don't partake at all, or be above it. I think that I don't remember how we got on.
Oh, like we're talking about trolls. We're talking about like Seth Simons, Jake Flores. I was wondering what you.
Oh yeah, how these
all these people have in common.
But it's just not a real thing. So even with Nicole Arbour, which was probably the more like the bigger one, because she does have a massive following, it was 2 days of her, and then I realized I wasn't going to win. I was like, oh, there's no winning this. She is a master troll. I give Nicole Arbour credit. I will say this. She'll probably hear this. Somebody will clip this and send it to her, I'm sure. I give her fucking credit because she out-trolled me. I thought this was going to be an easiest cake. I was like, oh, this bitch wants to go. Let's party. Right. And, and I know what my fan base does and how crazy they are. She's got a team of people. She's on Instagram. She has
an editing team. Yeah.
She's deleting anything that my fans are saying. She's fucking, having her people post on my thing. And I'm going, and I'm not willing to start editing videos to make her look bad. I'm going into this. And
why would you? Yeah.
I meet with my team. I'm like, should we be editing videos to make, and then they're like, what are we doing, dude? Let's move on.
So easy to get caught up in all that stuff.
It's so, and I did put out one Nicole Arbour bombs on Real Ass Podcast. Like and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't want to get into this world. I'm doing editing wars now with this fucking chick. It's so at that point, after speaking to a bunch of friends and a bunch of people who had dealt with her because she trolled a bunch of comics, I was like, I'm gonna opt out. I can't. There's no volley here. All the volley is doing, it just keeps on giving her more what she wants, which is
keeps
people clicking on her stuff. She brags about having, billions of clicks or whatever. I don't know how many clicks I have. I've never counted my clicks. And
how do you count a click?
I don't know. You understand that mindset. You realize like, oh shit, she's just, not only is she fucking beating me and making me look bad in these videos, but she's also beating me in this game that's not even being talked about, which is fucking like
that click
he's
game.
Getting paid to fucking troll me right now. And I'm sitting there going like, she crushed me. And she really did, like, not like my spirit or something. I couldn't, but in that battle, she fucking crushed me. She beat 7 rounds. She knocked me down 5 times. It was crazy. And I learned right there and then that it's like, oh yeah, there's only so much, you know what I'm saying? You can't, you can't try to go to battle with people. Even just going to battle people online, I've learned that it's not healthy. Like, I'm friends with Corinne and Christina now, but we had that, beef with those girls back in the day. And it's just
about, what was like the kernel, like what started?
It was really stupid. It was so anxiety inducing as well, because it's like, you're just like, it's a nasty place to be in where you're just fucking trashing these people. And then you become friends with them afterwards. And you go like, what? We're all just the same fucking idiots. We're all just trying to do the same thing. Right.
Yeah.
But they just didn't like us. They came on Legion of Skanks back in the day and I invited them on. They had just started Guys We Fuck. They didn't have an audience yet. And it just wasn't a good show. They were trying to come in and be feminists and be like, oh, well, this is what, and, Corinne is very like abrasive. If she's not wanting to be on your team, she'll just fucking, go at you. And I'm friends with her now and I appreciate it now, but it just wasn't a good vibe. And it wasn't even me so much. It was honestly Big J was sort of being shitty with them. And it just, whatever, they left and they were just not happy about being on the show, and our fans didn't like them on the show. And once again, they were new to, having people know who they were. It was probably the first time people were saying things to them online. And now we have these dudes saying, fuck you, bitch, you suck. Right. And then they're going back and forth and it becomes this thing. Right. So they went on to Sam Roberts' podcast and they like, for no reason, brought up the fact that they didn't like us. It was unprompted. And then Corinne, she in a roundabout way said she thought I was a bad father, which was just stupid. She didn't even mean it. She was just trying to say something, right? And at that point, I took that as like, I just saw red. I was like, how dare you go on a radio show and call me a bad father? And I'm so immature. Like, it's stupid because I'm also new to at this point. Now people are tweeting at me, oh, Corinne just called you a bad father on Jim and Sam. So I call in, we start having it out. And then it became this podcast war thing. We made a parody. We did make it funny. We made a parody, made a sketch about them. But you know, I just don't, for me, it's not fun to be battling people constantly on the internet. And it seems funny coming from
Yeah.
me because I do that
Exhausting.
regularly. I'll go back with Jake Flores or I'll go back and forth with these people and I get caught up. But when it's happening, I'm not happy. I mean, let's get real. You want
No,
to
it
slice
never
it,
feels good.
you know when I'm happy? When I'm fucking playing with my son in the park. You know, when I'm fucking
You're a
hanging out with my
good
friends
dad.
and laughing about fucking, you know, some stupid story, you know, when I fucking hang out with my, you know, my sister and my niece and I get to fucking, you know, watch my son read to my niece. That's fucking
Aw.
happiness. It's not fucking getting on and being like, look at this faggot, look at this cuck. Like that shit. It's, as I'm older, you know, it just becomes tiresome. And to be honest with you, the people that are fans of that, right, they're not really fans of what you're doing,
They're
right?
fans of
So
drama and
they're
chaos.
and the second that's not there, they'll turn on you in a heartbeat, you know.
Yeah.
And look, I'll still troll people and make dumb jokes, and I'm going to get into an argument probably on Twitter this week. But the reality is, I'm not trying to do that. That's not what I'm looking to get up and do every day. I'm truly trying to get up and fucking just be a better person and, you know, make people laugh and make some cash and have some
Yeah.
fun and live my dream.
Yeah, after we did that kung fu fighting video, and I always wondered, like, I don't think everybody on the video got trolled as much as me.
No,
You know,
but that it's a great example. Like,
yeah,
look, you
the
just leave it
entire
alone for a week. It's gone.
yeah.
Nobody cares anymore.
Oh yeah, the entire like what seemed like Asian population after people were tweeting at Chrissy Teigen to get me canceled. I'm like, what
I
is
know.
she gonna do?
Yeah.
I was like, she's like, oh, I was like, wow, everyone's like, she's like the new Oprah now.
But it's part of it. And if people sort of understand that, like, you can never bow down to that shit, right? They're just it's another form of internet trolling, right? When the social
Yeah,
justice trolls are worse because they're not doing it to be funny. So the guys who are doing it to be funny, there's like this, it's almost a weird, they have a higher moral standard because they're just doing it to be funny. And it's not actually, I don't think it's actually funny to get somebody canceled. I don't think anybody really thinks it's funny. That's why typically trolls that are just doing it to be funny don't really go down the route of trying to get people canceled. Even the guys who hate like fucking Brendan Schaub and fucking, you know, that whole like West Coast crew and Joey Diaz. There's a lot of like trolls who fucking hate those guys.
mhm.
For the most part, they just fucking tell them they stink, right? That's all. They're not trying. They're not trying to get these guys like hurt and fuck with them. And then the social media or the social justice ones, they're trying to get you to lose everything, and they won't. They feel like they need, unless they get sort of that goal. The other guys want to laugh, so they want you to either be like fuck you and block them, or
Yeah,
retweet it or laugh, or the other people to like it, or to be talked about on Reddit.
they're not so invested. Yeah,
And there's nothing emotional. They're not
yeah,
emotional, right? So the problem with the social justice trolls is they're so emotionally connected to this cause, and they've tricked themselves into believing that they're doing something really good.
yeah.
And that makes them just so much worse. So much worse. They're bad people.
Yeah, I had people like, I would laugh because a bunch of people got my email address, signing me up for like learn Chinese. People signing me up for Chinese dating websites. People like, I was getting these emails like, all right, you guys, this is pretty good. This is pretty good.
I used to have my email address on my website, and I had a troll. I don't know where he's at. To this day, my first ever real troll, there's no way he's still listening to my shit. He's just moved on or died or whatever it is, because he was relentless for 2 years. It was crazy. This guy was it was fucking it was like, I was like, there's no way this guy's really invested this much in and he'd listen to everything I would do, and he would comment on it, and he would do these certain hashtags so I would know it was him, because he would create different accounts.
Wow.
And because he also thought that I was like muting him or whatever, and I don't
This
even
is
do
a
that.
movie, Lewis. You guys get, and then you meet and then you fall in love. I don't know.
No, this fucking guy was, and then he would sign me up for email lists, and I was just, every day I would wake up to a new, like, you have AIDS coming out to your family, that you're gay, like all these different things. And then he just disappeared one day, and I kind of miss him in a weird way.
Mm-hmm. Like Catch Me If You Can, like Leonardo DiCaprio and Hanks. Like, I don't know, the guy that's trying to catch him. They like, it's weird how people like live for that stuff. Yeah, man, I don't, it sucks. I hopefully with all, I feel like the quarantine has made, you know, it seems like canceling comics is way lower on the priority list than now just trying to survive. And I knew like,
Well,
okay,
it's good.
this
The
is
more
gonna have a backlash. It's
you're
gonna
gonna
have
see
less.
like guys like Shane when that happened with him, or it's gonna it's on the Me Too side. It happened a lot. You watch like Louis get fucked, but then they tried to fuck over Aziz and they tried to fuck over Chris Hardwick, and people just sort of they had pause. They went, wait a minute, we can't just relax.
Fuck somebody over for a bad date.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it was if the Aziz thing or the Chris Hardwick thing happened a year before, I think they would have gotten fucked. I think it was
Really?
we were exposed enough to it, and you saw real bad people doing bad things. Louis, in my opinion, if it was another year, Louis wouldn't have had to fucking go into hiding the way he did. It was just it was bad timing. He was the first big comic that got sort of exposed, and they really wanted that fucking justice. They wanted him to go away, and they
like
were
make an
satiated.
example.
Yeah, they were satiated, and then they relaxed, and then the public wasn't going to accept Aziz and Chris Hardwick. It was like, wait a minute, this is sort of crazy, because you just saw fucking Cosby and Harvey Weinstein and guys that were legitimately fucking preying on young women,
Career predators. Yeah,
and so the more it happens, the more people get desensitized to it. So in a weird way, it's good that these things happen here and there. Shane getting canceled for saying chink, that is the fucking worst thing in the world. It sucks. It's really, really bad, and I love Shane, but I think you're not going to see something else that mild. I think people would probably give it a second thought if it happened again.
So you think the next person in Shane's position, like the next SNL hire that's got some kind of ethnic slur on a podcast, you think they would not get canceled? Like the next Shane Gillis, right? Like the next person who's hired to SNL, and there's just kind of similar controversy. Somebody finds something in a podcast.
I don't think they're going to get hired to SNL. I think they're going to do their diligence next time. I think that the public, I think it's not going to be, it won't be a higher thing. I just think something as mild as that, what Metzger said was just as bad, Now Metzger wasn't getting hired for something like SNL, obviously, but yeah, I just think that people are going to fucking question some of these things because they take it overboard.
Yeah. It's wild, man. I don't know if I'll ever get into SNL. I mean,
probably not, Chrissy. Probably not.
Have you heard all this? Well, I don't know if you've been keeping up much. Well, not with politics, but like it seems the way things are turning with LA. It looks like a lot of people are talking about, maybe because of the political kind of like weather down there, that people are that whole group is gonna maybe move to Texas. That there might be a change in the comedy scene.
Oh, is that whole group talking about moving to Texas?
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, because it's just the politics of especially LA County, but like California in general. It makes it really hard. It's like
I would love to move to fucking Texas. I would love to move somewhere else. New York and LA, it's gonna suck to do comedy. I'm going back out on the road in June, the end of June. Me and Metzger.
Yeah, next month.
We're gonna be in Arizona. But it's to not be able to get up every night and to not be able to sort of live like a good life, especially if you got a little bit of cash and you could fucking have like a nice place. Like why would I'm not fucking it sucks to have my kid not be able to go to the park. It really sucks to not be able to go to build a tree house. To kids are social distancing, the families are social distancing. He has no brothers or sisters. It's tough.
Yeah. Like Rogan was talking about maybe moving to Texas and Callan too, because those guys. I mean, Rogan definitely has money, and they just seemed really. This came out maybe like a week or so ago. They're just so upset. Like, wow, they are extended. Like California's shut down through mid-July. So
yeah,
it's good that you're getting back out there next month, and I'm going to start like seeing what I can do, because it's going to be wild, like to have things still shut down in New York, yet like people are out performing in, I don't know, Utah or like Ohio or like Florida, these states that have opened. It's going to be really interesting. But
yeah, I don't, it's a weird thing. So people can, what do you believe? If you really believe that everyone needs a social distance, and I guess you're giving up on comedy this summer. You're not doing it. I don't believe that. Once I go out to clubs, I haven't been wearing a mask like in my daily life.
Yeah, me neither, unless
really
like I have to go to a store.
if I have to go into a store, I'll wear it. But if I take a walk to the park, I don't wear a mask. I've had maybe 2 people make a comment to me, but I'm
Wow.
like, don't come near me then. What are you doing? Like, I'm not coming within somebody's space. And if I had to go within somebody's space, I would respect the fact that, you know, most people would feel more comfortable if I was wearing a mask. Once I go back out on the road, you know, once I'm doing the meet and greets and all that stuff, I'll probably grab a pair of fucking black latex gloves and fucking put on a mask. Not for me, because I don't believe that I'm going to get sick from this, but for the sake that you want to get people to feel comfortable and come out. But
Would you
it is
wear a
what it
mask
is.
on stage? Any?
No,
Yeah.
no, that's crazy. I'm buying my own microphone though.
Yeah, I saw you're going with the gold one.
I want to. It's $400. It's kind of crazy.
It feels
It's
like
a
a
little
lot.
bit crazy of an expenditure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, but it's
Why?
really
How much
cool.
are just the regular black ones?
You get like $100 microphone for a really good one.
Yeah, but then you're gold, man. That's interesting though, and I can't believe people are making comments to you. I wonder if that's more of like a New York City thing, because like I'm out in Westchester, and I haven't been wearing one. Nobody's been like, excuse me. Like I'll get passive aggressive ones, like groups of ladies that will pass, like me and Frank on our walks, and be like, oh, I guess they're not, they're so passive aggressive. It's just like it's like baby boomer mom type shit. Like, oh, I guess they didn't see the sign, and it's like,
Yeah.
relax, we're 10 feet apart. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not going in people's space, who gives a shit, you know?
Yeah.
I think in New York City, though, it's like, you know, you're just dealing with way more people. So, you know, people get fucking ballsy every once in a while. But for the most part, everyone's fucking cool. I was in the park the other day. It was just nice. We were in the park hanging out, eating some food. Everyone's just out, Central Park North, and it's, you know, it's Harlem. So everyone's just sort of having a good time. There's music. People are feeling great. And some old lady sort of like yelling at some kid for fishing. I guess this kid was allowed to fish. She was just saying he couldn't for some reason. Some crazy old lady. She's yelling.
Wow.
We all, like, everyone in the park just started like yelling at the lady, like, leave him alone, you crazy old bitch. And everyone's laughing. And we're also like making fun of her. We started singing na 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 na
Dick.
na 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 hey hey hey. Yeah, we're asshole. I mean, we're fucking, and
High school again. Great.
It was great. It was New Yorkers being New Yorkers, and it's like, you know, we have to fucking just, I don't know. I don't want to get into just the Corona thing, and, you know, it's nice to see people acting normal, and you need that normalcy. You need people to feel inspired. This is how you create incredible things. This is how you put people on the fucking moon. If people are not inspired, if people just want to collect a paycheck, and people are just willing to, you know, lay down and go like, oh, I hope things open back up one day. I guess
Yeah, that's not the path to any kind of greatness.
Yeah, you're killing like so many. You're killing so much potential like that. Maybe you put out the spark that there's one person that could have changed the fucking world, could have cured fucking cancer.
Yeah, why are you alive?
They could literally be fucking killing that. That's
Yeah.
fucking, it's crazy. Like, when you really think about like where we could go, and if you sort of encourage ingenuity and creativity, and people to, you know, stand on their own 2 feet and get back up, where that puts society versus the other path.
I'm like, what a waste to be born. Like, the odds of you even being born, but coming into into this consciousness, into this like body for this limited period of time, and you're just going to use that to collect a paycheck is like, that's such an insane waste. Anyway, here we are. Louis, thank you so much for coming on. What are you working on now? Where can people find you, see you, follow you?
Yeah, I'd say the best thing to do is just support my podcasts. I got 3 different shows, all on Gas Digital Network. I run my own podcast network. It's our own platform. You guys can get a free trial if you guys go to gasdigitalnetwork.com. Use any of the show's promo codes, LOS, RAP, BYM. They would all work. You get a free trial. You get it's 8,000 hours of content on demand. Just some of the funniest podcasts on the planet. So go support Gas Digital. That's the number one thing you can do to support me. And when we're back out on the road, come out. You know, come out to hang out. Obviously, we're gonna fucking do it in a smart way. We're gonna do it in a safe way. But I'm hoping to see as many people as possible in Phoenix, Arizona. Stand Up Live on the 25th of June.
Yeah, and then hopefully, like, they haven't said anything about Skankfest like being moved again, right?
No, we're good right now. You know, we're holding off on re-putting the tickets on sale. We had to issue about 100 refunds, which was, you know, nothing compared to, you know, the amount of tickets that have already been sold, just because people were unsure. And I think a lot of those people are still going to buy tickets again. They just didn't want to fucking get fucked. I think they were nervous. Everyone's nervous about their money. But June 24th through 27th, 24th is the kickoff party, 25th, 26th, 27th, sorry, not June, September. We're going to be in Houston, Texas at the Secret Group. We're reworking some of the lineups right now. For the most part, everybody is still in. I think we're adding more people than we're taking away. So I already know that Ari Shafir's back in now. Now he couldn't
Oh,
do it before,
cool.
and now Ari's back in the Skankfest. And doing Skankfest without Ari I wasn't talking about it, but it was breaking my heart because he is the
Oh,
fucking just the best. And Ari, there's nobody better than Ari for Skankfest. He's like the official or the unofficial Pied Piper of Skankfest. He
Mr.
comes in and he
Skank.
foils all my plans. Yeah. So Skankfest will be incredible. Tickets will be on sale very soon. Skankfest.net for full lineups. A lot of cool stuff will be happening there. And look, if the entire LA comedy scene moves to Texas, it'll probably be pretty good for Skankfest.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Lewis.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chrissy.
See you soon.
That was fun, darling. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.